Filmz TV præsenteres i samarbejde med Solid.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Ja, vi ved jo alle sammen godt, hvem James Bond er. Agent 007 med licens til at dræbe. En af kulturhistoriens mest genkendelige, karismatiske og rent udsagt ikoniske karakterer. Men hvor meget ved du egentlig om Ian Fleming, den engelske forfatter, der i sin tid skabte den engelske superagent? Uanset om svaret er meget, lidt eller intet, så er det helt sikkert en god idé at gå i krig med den nye HBO miniserie Fleming. Serien dykker ned i Bond-skaberens fortid og afslører, at Fleming og Bond måske har flere ting til fælles, end de fleste lige går og tror. Ikke blot en forkærlighed for vodka martinier.
Martini, shaken, not stirred, served in a champagne goblet. Perfect.
Og smukke kvinder.
Second Officer Monday.
Oh, what a pleasure.
Your husband says you're a bad boy.
Men også en spændingsfyldt karriere i efterretningstjenesten. Under 2. verdenskrig var Fleming med til at planlægge og udføre en række hemmelige aktioner, der til forveksling ligner dem i de 23 Bond-film. Fleming er en både billedskøn, velspillet og underholdende føljeton, som herhjemme kan fanges via HBO Nordic. Seriens kvindelige hovedrolle, det tætteste vi her kommer på en Bond-babe, spilles af engelske Lara Pulver, som nok er bedst kendt for rollen som Irene Adler i BBC's nye Sherlock-serie. I Fleming spiller hun Anne Charteris, som blev gift med Fleming ovenpå en stormfuld affære. Og vi fangede forleden Pulver over telefonen til en kort sludder om Bond, Holmes og Fleming.
I think before 007 hit page or screen, this man lived or tasted parts of what he then created with James Bond. So I think that's what we're looking into. We're looking into a man who on some level touched or was intrigued by this infamous character who he then created. So it's kind of fascinating. And who knows, some people say Ian Fleming was behind the desk during the war. Some people say he was hugely influential in setting up the intelligence agency. There are so many kind of conflicting stories about this man. And I think he loved that about himself. I think he loved being ambiguous. And what's so wonderful is that this particular miniseries has lots of witty nods to the Bond franchise as we know it today.
Yeah.
And yet on some level, this man kind of lived this type of life. That's what's so fascinating, I think, for me, having not known very much about the man himself before I started doing this project.
The spy thriller is a genre that really not only preoccupies the British especially, but it also seems like they tell it better than anyone. Is there a certain reason for that, do you think?
I don't know. I think sometimes with British TV, it can be kind of very honest and real and gritty. It's not kind of glamorized in a sense, even though I'm sure there's dramatic license with everything. I think there's a possible authenticity that Brits like to display. But then again, I think of The Bridge or I think of Wallander, and they're all great dramas with kind of a similar kind of detective-y style theme. So I think the Europeans are just having a wonderful golden time within television right now.
Yeah.
This Bond fellow, I don't like him one bit. He's a sadistic brute.
I thought that was your type.
I think you always have a responsibility to the person who lived, to do them justice. And yet you can only honour the writing in the script. It's wonderful to know all the detail about her backstory and her life. And that very much brings detail to a performance. And I think it very much can weight your performance and give you kind of a stillness and a strength sometimes because of that knowledge. And yes, of course, there's a percentage that is dramatized for entertainment value. But there's a wonderful quote. Our particular miniseries is based on John Pearson's biography of Ian Fleming. And there's a wonderful quote that Fleming himself said to John Pearson. he said, "Don't let accuracy get in the way of telling a good story."
Yeah.
And it just kind of summed up not only him as a man and the way he would like to embellish and live his life, but also the way we were choosing to portray these people. And there's so much about Ian Fleming's life that we couldn't go into because obviously it's more of a biographical piece about Ian Fleming. But Ian Fleming needs her own show because she's so actually if you read it up about the woman, she's just so interesting and such a contradiction and so she's fascinating just in herself.
So fingers crossed that there'll be a spin-off afterwards.
The Flemings. Yeah. Like the Waltons or the Arts who have the Flemings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it might be more interesting than the Kardashians, you never know.
It can only get more interesting than the Kardashians, I feel.
That was your words, not mine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You followed me.
That's the game, isn't it?
Do you? Maybe.
I've read that you've described her as sort of the ultimate Bond girl, and she is a very, very strong character, and I've always felt that the very best Bond movies are those with the strongest Bond girls. Like On Her Majesty's Secret Service is my favorite, where he gets married, and they play off so well against each other.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever dreamt of playing the Bond girl? Because some of them, like I said, some of them are really strong, and some of them are almost for scenery, for lack of a better word, which I've always been sad about.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge reflection of Ian Fleming's relationship with women. To a certain degree, women were disposable for him. So therefore, would I want to be a disposable woman in a movie? No, I wouldn't. And also, Ian Fleming was totally insulted when he suggested he would making the books in her honour. When he initially wrote Casino Royale, he said I was going to put it to my love Anne. Yeah. And she was absolutely horrified because she felt it was pornographic and just terribly written. So is Ian Fleming the ultimate Bond woman? I don't know. I think she ended up being the ultimate woman in his life throughout their kind of 11-year affair and then into their marriage. But he created, Bond women that would, like I say, that were very disposable, and I don't think Anne was someone he could ever shake off. Excuse the pun.
I love good puns.
Boys, you've got another one.
This is a matter of national importance.
You wearing any pants?
No.
Okay.
The promise of love.
What a tender world that would be.
The pain of loss.
I could cut myself slapping that face.
The joy of redemption.
Would you like me to try?
This is also just a huge pleasure for me because I gotta say, A Scandal in Belgravia is my all-time favorite episode of any TV series ever done.
Oh wow! Well, that's a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
And I was so pleased to see you do a small cameo in the third season. It was just it was such a cool little element there. Has there been any talk of you maybe coming back in later episodes? And would you be up for it?
I truly have no idea of their intention to either leave it as a one-episode wonder or whether to further investigate the relationship between the woman and Sherlock. But they're very clever men, and they know how they want their series to be guided. So I trust them implicitly with what they decide to do.
Husk, at du kan finde alle vores tidligere Filmz TV-udsendelser på Filmz under Filmz TV-fanebladet, og også på videovideo.dk, i iTunes og via vores gratis video-app.